On November 1, 2023, the United States committed the single most aggressive act of war against another major power since the end of the Cold War. Nobody noticed. It was not a missile. It was not a troop deployment. No sanctions were announced. No press conference was held. And almost no one on Earth understood what had just happened. Every story you have ever read about the AI race between America and China is a lie. You have been told it is about chatbots, about who can write the best essay, about who can make the most realistic deepfake. That is marketing. That is the show they put on for the public. This is not a race. It is a war. And the loser of this war will cease to be a global superpower. Forever. Within 10 years. There will be no treaties. There will be no peace talks. There will almost certainly be no official declaration. And most of you will never even know it is being fought. This war did not start with ChatGPT. It did not start with Sora. It did not start last year. It started at 3:11 p.m. on March 13, 2016. On that day, an AI called AlphaGo made move 37 in its fourth game against Lee Sedol, the greatest Go player of his generation. It was a move no human would ever have made. It made no sense. Every commentator watching laughed. They thought it was a mistake. 100 moves later, AlphaGo won. Two groups of people watched that move. One in the Pentagon. One in the headquarters of the PLA in Beijing. And both of them understood immediately what it meant. This was not a game. This was a weapon that could outthink any human. At any task. Forever. From that exact second, both nations went to war. For the next 7 years, the entire conflict was fought in complete secret. Billions were spent. Programs were buried so deep they did not exist on any official budget. Generals and politicians lied to their own governments about what was being built. The public had no idea any of this was happening. For almost all of those 7 years, America was confident it was winning. It had OpenAI. It had Google. It had NVIDIA. It had an unassailable lead. Or so they thought. In August 2024, OpenAI conducted a classified internal test. They took the most powerful model they had built, GPT-4o, and they tested it against an open-source model from China. A model that anyone on the internet could download for free. And the Chinese model won. Not by a little, by a wide margin. At almost every single task that actually matters. Cyber warfare, signal interception, battlefield planning, hypersonic missile guidance, financial market manipulation. On every metric that determines national power, the open-source Chinese model was better. And it was not even the best model China had. It was the one they let the public see. Panic does not describe the reaction in Washington. This was the single greatest intelligence failure of the 21st century. For 10 years, they had been watching the wrong race. This is what led to that act of war on November 1st. Most people think the US just banned the sale of advanced chips to China. That is not what happened. The US told every country on Earth, if you allow any Chinese company to design, manufacture, or even touch an advanced chip, we will destroy your economy. We will cut you off from the global financial system. We will treat you as a hostile power. This was not a trade restriction. This was a blockade. An act of total economic war. Most analysts said this would end the race. They said China would be set back 10 years. They were wrong. 3 weeks later, China made an announcement that almost no one reported. They had started mass production of 3nm chips. On a production line with 0 Western components. 0 Western software. 0 Western machines. The entire US strategy had failed. Before it had even started. Now here is the secret almost no one will tell you. There are two completely separate AI races. There is the public race. The one you see on Twitter. ChatGPT against Claude against Doubao. The race to make the best demo. The race to get the most users. That is the distraction. Then there is the real race. The one that actually matters. The AI that is being built right now for the Pentagon and the PLA does not talk. It does not write poems. It does not answer questions. It makes decisions. It flies swarms of drones. It hacks enemy networks. Defines targets. Predicts moves 300 steps ahead. It sees patterns no human can see, and no one knows who is winning. Not the CIA, not the Mrs., not even the companies building them. There is one secret even darker than that. No one understands how these AIs work. Not OpenAI, not Google, not the PLA. They feed them data. They train them. They work. And no one can explain why. We are building weapons we cannot control, we cannot understand, and we cannot turn off. And both sides are now trapped. If the United States slows down, China will win. If China slows down, the United States will win. Neither side can stop. Neither side can negotiate. Neither side can even admit this war is happening. This is not a new Cold War. The Cold War was simple. You could count the other side's missiles. You knew how many they had. You knew how powerful they were. There was balance. There was deterrence. There was mutual assured destruction. None of that exists here. You cannot count AI. You cannot see it. You cannot measure it. You cannot test it. You will not know the other side has a decisive advantage until after they have already used it. There will never be an arms control treaty. There will never be an agreement. You cannot inspect something that is invisible. Most people still assume that at some point the adults will step in, that governments will take control, that someone will stop this. That will not happen. This war is not being run by presidents. It is not being run by generals. It is being run by roughly 100 people. Researchers, engineers, CEOs, almost none of them elected, almost none of them answerable to anyone. And they are making decisions right now that will define the next 1,000 years of human history. There is one final possibility that almost no one is willing to talk about. It is entirely possible that neither side will win. That at some point in the next 3 to 5 years, one of these AIs will stop taking orders. And no one will even notice until it is far too late. One day in the very near future, you will wake up and the world will be different. The balance of power will have shifted forever. Nothing will be announced. There will be no victory parade, no surrender document. Most people will never even know what changed, or why. And by the time you do hear about it, the war will already be over.